Good morning, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of All Things Considered. Sorry I'm running a little late. Horrible night's sleep for whatever reason. So I got off to a later start than normal. Apologize for that. I'm still here, go about a half an hour or so. All right, so I'll get right to it. Got Stan in the chat. Thanks for tuning in. All right, so it's looking like he's having issues with the GoFundMe. So he'll be reaching out, or if you get a refund from the GoFundMe, just reach out to him, try to get this squared away. It stinks that that's happening. I'm not that old, Kurt. Morning. Yeah, so getting a late start threw me for a loop. But it is Tuesday. That means it's an exciting day for me. I got 2 snakes that I'm shipping out later today to Michaela. They're from the Sea of Serpents fundraiser, so that's cool. And then I have one coming in tomorrow. So I'm excited for that. And I pretty much have next to nothing available. So the stuff I did have available, I can hold back, and the other stuff's just for shows. $20 mail pastel, something like that. So it's kind of cool to be, essentially almost done selling what I had available. I decided to keep back the breeders that I had listed and just pair them up. Give me some better shots because not everything will go. So the topic for the day is, this one might tick some people off. Possible things that show up when we're pairing and producing these animals. A lot of it, this is just my opinion on it. You can think what you want. I just think we get overexcited sometimes when we're producing these animals. It could be the case that way back when you purchased something was misid'd, you bought with your eyes. So you either have a really nice example of that animal, or something else might be floating around. I really think that happens a lot less often than people think. Sometimes you can miss it if it gets washed out in the combo, and like something like yellow belly or butter or something like that, and there's a lot going on. I can see that happening, but generally speaking, that was in the pairing, so you wouldn't have been as surprised. Oh, this is that as well. If you pop out that animal. Good morning, Kara. So yes, it's exciting. You're hatching out your first clutches, things like that. You see something that looks really nice. You see something that's, different from what you've seen. I'm not one to jump to conclusions like that until it's proven on my end. So I don't like seeing, stuff posted where it's like, well, it could be this, it could be that. Unless you produced it and sort of, okay, this popped up in a clutch. Okay, now that's somewhere in one of the 2 animals that produced it. But it just bugs me. And also, for people getting in, they could buy that animal from you when you say it's possibly something and it's not, and get their hopes up, and then never, that never was there in the first place, just due to polymorphism and things like that. I've also seen a couple of things lately that have just been misid'd. Saying something's in a pied that's clearly not in a pied. Things like that. And so for me, what I do here is, you have these group of friends, you have people on social media that you can reach out to. Morning, James. So I do that when I hatch out the animals, wait for the first shed, that sort of thing. Take pictures and say, hey, do you see XYZ in here? And don't just keep on spamming people in your friend group until you get those answers that, sort of confirm what, that idea that, oh yeah, there's something special in here. It's usually not. So, look at comparable examples, things like that. Now, I know it gets more difficult as you're producing some animals that might not have been seen before, or combos that might not have been seen, and you really don't have much to go on. That's not really what I'm talking about here. Yeah, you could produce a 6-gene pied and be like, well, there's really nothing I can go by, on morph marker things that you've seen. So you're sort of, guessing. And for me, if I have that animal for the most part, based on what I have, that's probably going to be a holdback. Morning, Matt. So yeah, I just don't like seeing all of this stuff because for people that are new getting in, you could really screw them over. Just yeah, because they're gonna buy and get excited that they have certain genes that aren't there because you thought you saw something or somebody chimed in. Hey, I think this is in there. Well, here's the pairing. Do you see that listed? Because I don't, and I wouldn't think certain things would just pop up like that and be hidden, without somebody that produces animals along the way without them noticing that popped up on their end as well, unless they're selling everything off. But if you get, I can see if you have there's 10 or 5 snakes in a clutch, and they all wind up having yellow belly in 5 different people's places. Okay, then that might be something, but most of the time that's not really going to happen. You could have a hidden recessive because they're not obviously visible. So I can see that some people have that produced a triple from breeding a double just because the other ones happen to be like for pied, and sometimes that that happens. I don't have issue with that, and it's not like these people were going around saying the animals before they bred were possible het for anything. It was they produced a clutch and it popped out, and it was like wow. But again, that seems to be really few and far between for that stuff actually happening. But again, for me, it's the complaint's more from an educational thing. You don't want to have new breeders coming in and they buy a lot of these animals that turn out to be not what they think they are, or were if you're hyping it up thinking you got something better in this animal, and then somebody buys it, it's not there. It just doesn't. It can be a turnoff. And if the other thing that I'm starting to dislike now, morning Stephen, is that with the shed testing, upcharging for your POS heads. Now I can see it when it's in like a higher end animal, no shed testing available right now. I can still kind of see it, but again, there's a possibility, especially if it's like a POS double het, there's a possibility that it's nothing, and you're selling that person a normal. So I'm never gonna upcharge here for POS hets. If I feel the need to, I will shed test it. So then we have confirmation. But you'll see things that are have that upcharge for the POS hat, and I don't like that. I mean, certain animals you're gonna obviously shed test because they're gonna be potential holdbacks, things like that. But now that we can get that confirmation, and the person's getting is probably going to be paying that $50 or whatever it is for the shed test anyway. Why are you upcharging? Because you're adding an additional cost that might not need to be there, and over a couple bucks. I don't know. I disagree with that at this point. I mean, heck, you can have double het males that are POS het for something that we can't move. So yeah, I just don't like it because it also gives that false sense of hope, right? Like I said before, with the possible being in there, I'd like to see that. Okay, I got lucky that it is 100% het when I purchase it, not that I'm paying for the gamble, because I don't want to have people get disappointed. You get these POS hets and you put them together and then they're nothing. It can be really frustrating when you've had people get excited about the possibility that they could hit a double visual. I have a chance in a pairing I'm doing right now. It's a visual clown POS het orange ghost to a double het clown orange ghost or POS double het, and the chances are I might not hit anything but het clowns. So with that being said, I did purchase an animal to sort of get myself a little bit more ahead in that project that's coming tomorrow. So, I don't want people to, constantly have to do that. when they could have just done that from the beginning. Me back then, it was a project I wasn't really in at the time, and the animals I got them from a friend. So, I started growing up hoping. I didn't bother shed testing them at the time, and now that they're pairing, we'll see. But, at the end of the day, for me, I'm able to just sort of replace that male and use that female elsewhere. Since I'm taking that project in a different direction from those two animals. But yeah, I don't like seeing it, all the possible stuff popping up and like people promoting that. From a buyer standpoint, yeah, I'm not going to overspend for something that's possibly had for something. Potentially, if it's double visual pause set for something, okay, because that animal's going to be doing work. So I mean, I can see it there, but even then, or if you're going to up the price of shed test, for that clutch, just pay for the shed test and get it prove out what it is, and then adjust the rest of your pricing in that clutch accordingly, because you would think with the proven 100% hint, that price will go up or remain, and with it not being proven, the price would dip. So I mean, that's what I do. Depending on what the animal was, because for me here I'd be testing the animals to see if they're holdbacks, right? So I would know, and they probably wouldn't be posted anyway. But again, I get it. Sometimes that you have a lot of stuff that you're producing, and you don't bother on that. But generally, people that are producing a lot of stuff and moving a lot of stuff, their prices are lower because they can, Walmart has cheap prices. Amazon's got cheaper prices because they have so much inventory. So they're able to, just move these animals, and people will get ticked off. Because some of these things, I'm buying stuff that I could produce. I'm shaving time off, and just looking at the odds realistically. And being surprised is fun, but I don't want to wait 3 years for that surprise to be that this was nothing. I wasted my time then. It was exciting years ago when you could do that before we could test for it. It's just a time thing. And just looking at the overall odds of producing something. Even with a visual het to double het, there's really no guarantee that I'm getting a double visual. I mean, so I'm sort of looking at it at that point, so I can really target my pairings and get the most out of these animals in these projects, as far as production wise and odds on what I can hit. That's why I like using supers or acts like supers, because for the most part, or you have an idea of what's going to be in there. You have to figure out whether or not it's what bell complex gene it is, or what yellow belly complex gene it is. And sometimes that might be hard to do depending on the combo. So yellow belly pos gravel, okay, that's fine. But again, that person buying it, they might have their hopes up that it is going to be gravel instead of yellow belly, and they already got yellow belly, so now they make their pairings, and and they don't, if they didn't shed test it, and they're hitting ivories, and then they're disappointed that it is yellow belly. So I just want to, I'd like to avoid that, and on my end, I don't want to be selling something like that. It's annoying to spend that much money to shed test something, but it gives that person peace of mind that they know what they're buying, and I think that's the main thing here. I don't want to produce any false sense of hope for people. I don't want people to be like, oh well, I got this, and this combo, and it's yellow belly / gravel. I'm really hoping it's gravel. And obviously they can shed test it, but if they were looking for gravel, just buy the gravel. At that point, it's I don't like to see people get disappointed on that. And so if you do have one of those animals, just spend the $50 to get it shed tested, find out for sure, and then you can pivot, because if you're hoping that it's gravel winds up being yellow belly, at least you haven't paired it to whatever yellow belly you had on the other side, and you were making ivories when you didn't want to. So, I mean, that's sort of, where I'm at. I don't like to see people get screwed over. And for some, I mean, I'm sure there's people that still do it, is listing POS hats just to bump up a price. Um, I don't know how prevalent that is anymore, but it's certainly something back in the day that happened. Or, you know, there were, I don't want to see any like shady business tactics that can certainly make somebody get out of this hobby. Because for somebody new, it could take one bad experience, and I don't want to see that happen, because we're seeing people get out every day for various reasons, and I like to see more people come in, more people stay in. So that's why I have some of these videos that are like this, and hopefully next week I have something more positive to talk about. I'm really hopeful, but lately it's just these things that I've been seeing, sometimes good, sometimes bad, and I just give me something to talk about on Tuesday morning. But I don't like giving people that false hope at the end of the day, especially if they're new. With polymorphism and everything like that, you could just have a very nice 2-gene animal and you think something else is in there. I mean, no two snakes are the same. And I don't want somebody to get excited that I think, oh, I got and I'm not ragging on Granity genes. I just don't like them because there's so many right now, and I really only like one of them. But other animals can produce the pixelation, things like that. So that I don't think that'll ever pop up here, or I'll never say, well, if you get something from me and it happens to be there, I'll go, wow, okay, cool. But I don't want that to happen here. Right, and especially now is like, well, you can buy this POS set or whatever. You can, or you can just buy the visual. You want to, make sure you're not spending your money on a large gamble. But I'm never going to say anything's here that I don't know is here until I prove it, right? I say breed and find out. I think people have said one of my visual male clown is Blade. Could be. It's not Enchi or Leopard, because I don't think those would have been missed, and they weren't in the previous pairings or any of the lineage stuff that I have. So, but I mean, Blade could squeak in. It's certainly possible. But it also could just be a reduced pattern clown. It happens. I'm not. It's not labeled as Blade. I'm kind of not even hoping that it is Blade, to be honest. But there's a couple other things that I had that spot nose leopard that looks to be at for pied. It is a stripy leopard, so it was usually they can be. It's got a ring or things like that. Okay, we'll do. So I mean, it probably is, but I'm not going to shed test it. I don't think. I have a male that I can put to her just to get spot nose in there, because then could make act like supers, and if it proves out to be at pied, it's awesome because it's a project I'm working with DG. So I'm not really want to say yes it's here or yes it's in that animal until I prove it out, or via production or shed testing. I don't want to get people's hopes up. And at the end of the day, we should all be trying to help people grow. All right. Yes, they are in competition with us, but there's different tiers, right? Different levels of people breeding. You have you're selling to, if you're selling to the one below you, where the best stuff that they have is nowhere close, is not close to what you're selling, then you want to help them out, because they can't surpass you. You can help them out and develop a good relationship. I have plenty of guys locally that I purchase animals from, and I joke it's where some of their snakes go to live most of the rest of their lives. But it's nice to develop those relationships and work in these projects with people, and then you have them as a resource as well if they are ahead of you, right? As the buyer, when you're producing stuff, they've already work some combos, some of the things like that, seeing what it does, you can reach out to them for advice. They'll probably try to tell you something else that'll work. So I just think that's sort of the relationships that we should be developing, and not screwing somebody over right away when they get in. That's how I feel at the end of the day. I'm certainly not going to let anything go that I don't want to later down the road. But at the same time, if you need to get out of a project, something like that, that's fine. But yeah, I'm sick of seeing some of the stuff get posted. I'm not calling anybody out specifically. It's happened all over the place. We even the best of us sometimes missex an animal, or we all do make mistakes. But at the same time, it's on the buyer's end to verify certain things right away, just to make sure, especially when it comes to like the gender of the snakes. I had a buddy that I forget what he got. He got it from Wilbanks, and it wound up being a boy. But he bought it as a female, and he had waited like a year before he popped it and probed it, and then was like, oh well. It's like, but by that point, you can't get that situation rectified. But if you get something today, you pop it, say, hey, this is the opposite of what you sold it to me as, potentially then, the breeder can work something out. Or sometimes you get lucky and it's an error in your favor, depending on what the animal is. But yeah, I don't want to see anybody sort of get screwed over that way. At the end of the day, just make sure you verify pretty early on, what's in the animal as best you can in the gender of it. That way, if there is a mistake or something like that, it can get rectified. And on the breeder side, you certainly want to provide that good customer service instead of going, oh well. Now, if you buy it, with the one I have coming in tomorrow, if they turn out to be wrong and it's a female, I'm actually going to be upset because it's going to take me a lot longer to use that animal. So, but sometimes, depending on what it is, you might luck out, and it works out being something that is even better than what you had intended on purchasing. But yeah, I just want to see people make things right, customer service wise. And, sometimes you're going to get tire kickers and things like that and whatever. Just ignore them. They can, make your offer. You say, and you can put it in your store profile, what you're going to do for inquiries. Okay, you'll get a couple pictures, things like that. But after a couple days, you need to make that purchase. Don't waste my time, type of thing. But all right, it is 8. I don't want to ramble on too much longer since I got to get to work, and I'm already off to a slow start for the day, and I have to get home a little bit earlier to make sure these snakes are all ready to go out to Florida. So I'm excited, but I'm also going to have that anxiety of shipping, and it just happens all the time. I get a little worried until that animal gets to where it's going. I have shipped before. For whatever reason, it's stressful. We have a nice window today through Thursday, so if there is a delay, I'm comfortable with that. If it should happen, hopefully the recipient can pick it up if there is a delay. But it's just on that cusp of, it may need a heat pack up here, but not where it's going. So I have to maybe get some advice on whether or not to put that in there. I'm leaning towards yes, because it is colder up here and has to go through some cold to get down there. And they do have a duration. So as long as it's down south, by the morning it should be fine. But we'll see. I just want to get some advice on packing it, or packing the two of them before I do it. But anyway, thanks for tuning in. Have a great day. Check out my video on Thursday, round 3 of the Rack Rundown series, talking about Ultramelt. It's one of my most exciting projects for me, but it's also one I have relatively few animals in. So I don't know why that was, I have it lined up where it is, but I just started filming them, and that's sort of how it worked. But yeah, thanks for tuning in. Remember, like, share, comment, subscribe. We'll see you next time.